thousands of years, humans have been trying to get each other's attention. But the brands that win next won't be the loudest. They'll be the ones that make people feel something. Marketing dates back to cave paintings, hieroglyphics, town criers, but the history of marketing isn't just about products or ads. It's the story of how we as a society decide what matters. And right now at this exact moment, we're heading into the biggest shift we've ever seen since the invention of the internet. Spoiler alert, it's not AI. It's not automation. It's not data. It's emotion. Emotionally driven experiences are becoming the most powerful marketing strategy on the planet. And let me explain why. Marketing used to be simple. Tell people you exist, hope they buy. The earliest campaigns were literally carved in stone, 4,000-year-old Egyptian advertisements for craftsmen, ancient Greek town criers shouting about products. Even in ancient Rome, people were branding their products into their clay containers. Marketing has been around forever. So fast forward to the 1800s and mass manufacturing changed everything. Suddenly there were too many products and companies needed to stand out. So the modern era of marketing was born. And some of the earliest marketing campaigns absolutely fascinate me. There are two particular campaigns that completely changed the way I think about marketing. And one is the "When it rains, it pours" Morton Salt story. I wrote a paper on this in grad school about a decade ago now, but it still blows my mind every time. So in the early 1900s, salt companies had a huge problem. Salt apparently absorbs moisture and clumped. So when it rained, or if you lived in a super humid place, your salt would turn into a brick. You literally had to stab it with a spoon to break it up. So Morton Salt came up with a brand new idea in 1911. They added magnesium carbonate so the salt stayed loose and free flowing. This was apparently radical for that time. They had a functional breakthrough, but they didn't want to market it like a scientist. They wanted the public to feel something. And so that's how they created the iconic line, "When it rains, it pours." This everyday saying actually came from a salt company. I'm sure your grandma still says it. It didn't start as a metaphor for life. Back then, it meant even when the weather is completely terrible, our salt still pours. Then they added the Morton Salt Girl to the blue container, just walking in the rain, effortlessly pouring salt behind her. You know, the one with the umbrella and the yellow sundress. Suddenly, they weren't selling sodium chloride anymore. They were selling reliability, consistency, and peace of mind. They turned a commodity into a brand through emotion. And today, Morton still owns about 70% of the table salt market. Insane. So this is the power of emotional storytelling. And I have another example, but this one annoys me a little bit because it triggers the nostalgic emotion in me. I really like to cook, and I thought she was my hero as a kid. She was the Target version of Martha Stewart, and I'm talking about Betty Crocker. Did you know she's not real? She was invented in 1921 as a friendly, trustworthy homemaker to help sell baking products. This person never even existed. But the emotional intelligence behind her creation, genius. We trusted her, we used her recipes, we invited her into our kitchens. I had her cookbook. I've probably baked 100 of her cakes. This wasn't marketing, it was identity building. And again, it worked because of emotion. People connected with a persona who didn't even exist. 65 million cookbooks have been sold, and she isn't even a real person. All of this proves something important. Marketing evolves based on what grabs people emotionally. And throughout history, we've seen a clear pattern. Every era moves closer into a deeper emotional connection. And so here's just a quick breakdown from the beginning. Marketing started with providing function. Does it work? This soap cleans better. This salt doesn't clump in the rain. This tool lasts longer. It was all about utility. Emotion wasn't the star yet. Reliability was. Then it morphed into personality. Who represents the brand? And so eventually brands realized that humans connect to humans. And so they created characters and personas like Betty Crocker. And then Mr. Clean, the Marble Man, oh, the rugged Marble Man. Emotional impact came from trust, familiarity, and reliability. I mean, a cowboy and like a bald man cleaning stuff, people wanted to know these people. Marketing wasn't just about the product, it was about the personality attached to it. And then brand storytelling took over. Brands realized people don't buy products, they buy identity and emotion. For example, Apple made technology feel rebellious and creative. Nike made shoes feel like courage and personal power. And Dove made soap feel like self-worth. The emotional connection deepened because now you weren't just using the product, you were part of the story. And now we are in the experience era. People want connection, a deeper meaning, emotion, memories, a moment that feels personal. It's no longer enough to tell a story. Now the brand has to let people live it. Live it in ways such as immersive pop-ups, brand activations, events designed around emotional moments, personalized experiences, and user-generated content. This is the deepest level of emotional impact, where the audience is no longer watching the brand story, they are inside it. And now with AI, automation, and everything becoming digital, the brands that are winning in 2026 and beyond are the ones who understand personalization and human connection. Not more content, not more data, not more perfection, more emotion. So there was one particular era in marketing history that's fascinated me, still does. I love talking about guerrilla marketing because it was such an era of bold, disruptive tactics. People doing flash mobs in the street and painted giant 6-foot French fries on crosswalks. That in-your-face tactic was so appealing to me. I used to go to my kids' school when they were in 5th grade, and I would teach the class about guerrilla marketing before they would launch their mini society projects. It was so much fun to show them how to attract your buyer in a very loud and obnoxious way. So of course, kids loved it. And guerrilla marketing campaigns are still to this day probably my favorite. I mean, when the Planters Nutmobile rolls into town, I get way too excited because it reminds me of my childhood. And you can go inside a giant nut and see what a nutmobile is. Makes no sense, but I'm a huge fan. I'm also a huge fan of projection mapped buildings. I just saw a really cool installation in New York on the Lululemon building. I had to go in just to see what was going on. And I don't even shop at Lululemon. I'm an Athleta girl. So guerrilla marketing, it was never really about creating this new medium. It was about surprise, novelty, and emotion. Every good guerrilla marketing campaign used that same formula. An unexpected moment creates an emotional reaction, and then a memory is formed. If this sounds familiar, this is also the blueprint for emotionally driven events. So looking back, the internet arrived, then the smartphone, then social media, and now we have algorithm fatigue. We created a world where everything is automated, including our marketing posts. Everything is optimized, everything is scalable, and nothing feels personable. And now consumers are tuning out. I don't think I've watched a full commercial in 4 years. And why? Because humans are not designed to emotionally connect with a pixel. We connect through experience. This is why email open rates are declining, why ad spend is going up, why attention spans are shrinking, why brand loyalty is evaporating. So 77% of Gen Z said they are open to trying new brands rather than sticking to the ones they know. Meanwhile, I'm still wearing my same mascara brand I did in high school. People want connection again. And here's what's fascinating. Despite all the technology around us, the future of marketing is becoming more human, not less. And Gen Z proves this because they favor things like real connection, authenticity, emotional resonance, community, experiences, not stuff, and memories over materialism. They can smell fake from a mile away. They grew up in a world where people put everything on social media, everything. They don't want over-the-top ballrooms dripping in florals. They want meaningful, intentional moments, preferably in a super cool location, where they can care about, where something real happens. They want to feel something, and they are the future. Future clients, future spenders, future executives, and future decision makers. So if you want to reach them, emotion is the strategy. So where do we go with this? Marketing used to be tell everyone everything, and so now it's becoming give a few people a moment they'll never forget, and they will tell everyone for you. Brands aren't being remembered for their ads, they're being remembered for their experiences, because emotion creates memory, loyalty, word of mouth, community, higher lifetime value, and yes, conversion. This is why emotionally driven events are becoming the most powerful marketing tool of our time, because they turn marketing from a message into a moment, and moments become stories, and stories spread like wildfire, at least in my town. But seriously though, as an experiential marketer and event producer, I built the Experiential Edge because I took the time to look back at every event I had ever planned or attended and realize what made them so successful. I realized the most unforgettable moments I ever planned weren't remembered for their decor or their budget or their spectacular venue. They were remembered because of the emotional triggers engineered into them. So I created a blueprint, a system. Anyone can use it. It's just 4 steps. Define the purpose of the event. Identify the core emotion you want to trigger. Design emotional moments throughout the experience. Anchor those emotions to the brand. Those are the 4 steps I use, and I teach exactly how to do this for any event or activation. That is the future of marketing, not AI, not automation, not more content. Emotion, connection, personalization, experience. This is where the world is going. This is where brands are investing. This is what Gen Z demands. And this is what the most profitable events in the next decade will be built on. And if you want to get good at it, I built the blueprint. So it's called the Experiential Edge. If this little marketing history lesson inspired you to plan your next marketing event, please click subscribe because there is so much more to come. Thank you for being here.